All right, Coach Doug Brady, Brady Performance. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you know what? I found out about you through my nephew. He is a quarterback himself, and I saw some of the training you were doing. Now, you're like a top trainer here in San Diego, and I saw some of your events, and I was really impressed by it. And I said, I got to get this guy on my show, find out what's behind his program, and find out your story.
I appreciate it. One of the big things I try to do is develop relationships with the kids, and working with Sawyer has been such a great pleasure, and meeting his parents and then meeting his uncle, yourself, and extended family has been awesome. So those are the real wins for me, developing relationships.
Well, you know what? I just seeing all the work in these events you've been putting on, it seems like, San Diego County is like a hotbed for quarterbacks. You got Julian Sand tearing it up over at Ohio State. You got Akili Smith over at Oregon, and a whole host of quarterbacks. Why do you think it's such a hotbed?
Well, we have great weather here, so kids have opportunities to go outside and throw the football, and you're not really dealing with a ton of inclement weather, right? There's opportunity to do 7-on-7s, flag football. There's trainers across the county and going up to Orange County as well. So just a lot of opportunity to hone their skills and get a lot of reps.
Yeah, I know that 7-on-7 stuff, it seems like it's almost year round. It's just like it's tons of opportunity for players out there. So let me ask you this. Who are some of the players you're coaching right now that are actually heading on to college or you're working with that are really out there trying to make a name for themselves?
Yeah, so I've worked with Sawyer Bray. He's a college quarterback just up the road. Jack Leatherwood has been at the Division I level, went back to JUCO here at San Diego at Mesa, and then is at Southeast Missouri State now. He actually got OVC Player of the Week, Ohio Valley Conference Player of the Week at SEMO, Southeast Missouri State. I used to coach quarterbacks there. DJ Ralph, quarterback at Chadron State. Luke Durkin just finished up at Davidson University.
Oh, wow.
So there's more guys I've worked with as well, but just love following them and seeing them win. Every week there's opportunity to kind of be a shoulder to lean on, and then also just to give them praise for what they've done. So
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So let me start with you a little bit. Your story, where you grew up, and tell us a little bit about like how you got into football to begin with.
So I grew up in San Diego. I remember watching my brother play Pop Warner football when I was a kid, and just thinking to myself, I love this sport, And the Buffalo Bills. I grew up in San Diego, so the Chargers weren't that great at that time. The Bills had the red, white, and blue uniforms, the buffalo on the side of their helmet. They ran the K-gun offense, and just really fell in love with offensive football then, and how fun it could be, and the passion grew, and I've loved the game since I was a kid.
So what level did you play? Did you play flag football or tackle? Where did you start? What level?
I don't recall flag football really being an option, at that point, back when I was a kid.
There wasn't really any organized big leagues like that.
Not flag. Not that I knew of. Like maybe like part of a rec center or something like that. But I played Pop Warner football in 1992 was my first year playing Pop Warner football, going into my 6th grade year. And loved it. Played a ton of different positions. And
Did you like quarterback position at that time?
Absolutely. But it was always a coach's son that played the position. Those politics, I learned those early on. Which is part of life, right? That exists in many areas of life. But yeah, I always wanted to be a quarterback. I remember my 2nd or 3rd year, I just kept on bugging my coaches. I want to play quarterback. And they ended up putting in a play that everybody called the Brady bomb. So I'd line up at halfback, the quarterback would pitch it to me, and I'd just throw as far as I could. And we connected on some of those. And so, got a little
That's where
taste.
The love started, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I think my pursuit of this position, hasn't just been rosy and sunny days. There's been adversity with it, and I love the challenge. I love the challenge of it because it's not easy. And everybody thinks they know where you should throw the ball, or they think they can do better than you. But I love the challenge of it.
So when you're growing up, who were some of the people you admired? I mean, I'm a basketball player, but I still watch football for fun. And I remember the days of Joe Montana, Steve Young. You got Troy Aikman, all those guys, Elway. Who was your person you looked up to?
everybody you just said, I looked up to them. And I was like an encyclopedia. I knew where they went to college. I knew their stats. I knew their height, their weight. It was crazy. Jim Kelly was my favorite quarterback.
Wow.
Loved his story. He was gritty. He was recruited to be a linebacker out of college, and I played the quarterback position with some grit as well. But Jim Kelly, I love Dan Marino, Joe Montana, John Elway, Steve Young, Brett Favre, Warren Moon.
Speaking of those guys, did you see that series? I think it was on Netflix about the Cowboys.
I did. Yeah, it was entertaining.
Yeah, my brother told me about it, so I binge watched it and watched the whole thing in about a total of 2 days. And I mean, I remember sitting back in San Jose at the time where I lived, and we just sit on the couch and watch Steve Young play. And you'd see those games, but when you saw some of the footage from these things behind the scenes, I mean, these guys are playing on those muddy fields. You know how they walked it before the game, and they were strategizing. And it's like they were taking some hard hits too, weren't they?
Absolutely. It was interesting from the very beginning of the show all the way to the end. You saw the storylines, of people that I grew up, looking up to, admiring. Jerry Jones, struck it rich and always had a vision that he was going to own a team. And it was pretty cool to see the background, whether, no matter how you feel about him, it was awesome to see that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
It was cool to see Troy Aikman and how much of a leader he was. He was fiery. Right. It kind of reminds me of Kobe Bryant, right? That type of guy. Yeah. Michael Jordan, really fiery. And then the players that they had on that team and the players they went against, the Niners, like you said. Right. And then the field conditions, I think that's part of sport, right?
Yep.
You try to see, okay, what are the conditions? That's part of the awareness of what's the situation. Okay, the footing's not great in this part of the field. Do you have the ability to recall that as a coach and as a player on what you need to do on this part of the field? And if you could use it as an advantage, which the Cowboys did,
right,
then you could have memorable moments.
Yeah, all fun stuff. But talking about you now, your evolution, going and playing in Pop Warner and all that. I actually saw on YouTube, I saw a video of you playing. You were running and gunning. I think it was against Carlsbad or somebody. When you were playing at Poway. You were out there moving the ball down the field, doing it. Tell me something about your time at Poway, what it was like playing.
So we ran the wing T, which is not the sexiest offense for a quarterback, but I love the physicality of it. There was opportunity to get really clean looks to throw the ball, and so my completion percentage my senior year was 70%. And because they were trying to stop our run, right? And I had some games that are memorable. That Carlsbad game, I live in Carlsbad now. I coached at Carlsbad High School. I just remember some of the players we played against and some of those moments in that game. I just recall it. And so, yeah, that's one that sticks out. Another one that sticks out is our game against Rancho Bernardo. That was our rival because I went to Poway High School, and we got the football with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter of that rivalry game, that crosstown rivalry game.
Crowd like that?
Packed crowd at Titan Stadium. And I remember we got the ball with 6:28 left, and it was a touchback. And I remember my coach saying, "Oh man," he put his head down and said, "Coach, we're going to score." And we had a methodical drive, and we bled the clock. I had probably 4 third-down conversions because we pounded the rock all the way up to scoring. With 28 seconds left, and we beat our crosstown rival. I'll never forget that.
Those are the memories. Even as a basketball player, I always tell people, I remember the packed crowds and even doing that. And I tell people, enjoy those times because those are the memories you're going to have. You have that camaraderie of your players that you've grown up with. And that's an awesome memory, So at Poway, were you a quarterback the whole time, or did you evolve in that position, or what's the story behind that?
Yeah, coaches. My brother, I had a brother who's 5 years older than me, right? Okay. And so I had to learn how to run from people that were much bigger and faster, stronger than me. And so I developed a toughness, and I love contact, right? So the coaches always wanted to make me a linebacker, make me somebody that was going to be, tackling. And I did those things well, but I always wanted to play quarterback, and I didn't get to start until my senior year. And I just remember a lot of moments of despair, but I just kept on working at it and ended up beating out the guy who had been the starter the year before, and ended up becoming an all-conference player and having a great senior year. And that adversity that I experienced, I think has really molded me and really helped me throughout the course of my life.
So you weren't a quarterback who was actually started out young and kept working your way up in that program. You got that job your senior year. So how was this, the recruiting process to want to go to college? Did you have scouts already scouting you, or did you have anybody,
Not really. I didn't have any evidence that I could play the position in college.
And at that time, was film out there a lot, or was it easy to get film out?
It was VHS.
Okay.
DVD.
So you're mailing these things out
100%. You're sending these out.
Actually, players today have it so easier. With the internet, it's so easy to get things
That's
out.
how it goes, right?
Yeah.
Like, you advance technologies, and that's the way things go. But yeah, that's how it was. It wasn't really, people weren't really knocking on the door, until I played in junior college.
So you went to where did you go to JC at?
So I had, it's kind of funny. I had a long college career. Ended up gray shirting my first year, went to Palomar, and then I red shirted. And then my third year out of high school, I played at Mesa. And so I was technically a redshirt freshman.
Okay.
So, I was working at the same time, training and trying to fulfill my dream of being a quarterback and trying to develop to where I can get a college scholarship.
So how did you get to the next level after junior college?
So when my year at Mesa had a really good year, and got some letters, got some interest from people, and started getting recruited. And I was looking at being a coach. So I went to church with somebody who went to LSU, and he passed my film on to the coaches at LSU because I had a good year. And he maybe fabricated my height and my speed and all those things, which helped me get in the door there. But I kind of looked and saw who the head coach was, Nick Saban.
Okay.
It was right before they won the national championship. I said, well, I think that'd be a good path for me to go try to walk on there and maybe be a student coach there if I didn't play.
To get that experience.
To try to learn from a real top end program. That was my goal, right? That didn't end up happening. I got into school there, but I didn't get on their 105 list, meaning there's 105 players they could bring for fall camp.
Okay.
And so I said, well, I'm going to go look into other opportunities I got. New Mexico State was one of those. I ended up walking on to New Mexico State and ended up playing there and have great relationships still to this day from there, and had some good experience. Played against Georgia, played against UTEP.
Wow. When you went to New Mexico State, had you been away from home, or just been pretty much living around here?
Never away from home. I mean, the summers when I was a kid, we went to Costa Rica because my mother was from there. So I had experience like going away from my physical home for a period of time, but that was my first time really leaving home, and I loved it.
The reason I asked that is because I think for a lot of athletes, they're used to being in their own environment and all that, and then going off to college, it's not just going to be part of a program. It's also part of trying to adapt to being away from home, getting used to school. How was that for you?
I was a little older, right? I was 3 years removed from high school, and I knew that, hey, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to advance my future career, because the coaches there had all played at Nebraska, maybe had some NFL experience. So I looked at the coaching staff at New Mexico State, and I thought, hey, this is gonna be a great experience. And so I looked at it as an opportunity, and I didn't really, I wasn't homesick. Okay. I loved it. I had one of my teammates from Mesa that got a scholarship there, and so that helped with familiarity. There's some guys from San Diego that I ended up bonding with, and so it was awesome. Loved it.
Hey, did you have any mentors you'd say that helped prepare you for this kind of experience, or just in life in general, that kind of helped out?
I have a number of mentors. I was before we started this, we were talking a little bit about Ed Carberry. He's in the Football Hall of Fame here in the state of California. He's one of the best high school coaches in the San Diego area history, and then also junior college as well. He's always been a great mentor of mine. Isaac and Anthony Coons, their dad was the head coach at Morris. He'd coach at Lincoln. They lived in Poway, and they gave me a lot of great insight on just the mental aspect of the game and calming myself down. I had high school coaches that were mentors of mine. Brian Sipe would go throw the ball with me at the beach. And so I would, ask anybody
Brian
for
Sipe,
help.
I haven't heard that name in a long time. The cardiac kids, remember that? That's like that's what they used to call him with the Browns, right?
Yeah, he went to San Diego State. He went to Grossmont College, believe Grossmont High School before that, then Grossmont College, and then San Diego State. was with the Cleveland Browns. He was the AFL MVP in 1980.
I know. I saw a video of him on YouTube, and remember the old NFL voice, NFL films?
John Facenda.
Yeah, they had some old films of him throwing some TD passes I saw on there. So wow.
He was a great mentor to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So after you graduated, you got out of college, or what got you? Did you take a step right into coaching, or what was the path?
So after New Mexico State, I left there because I got a little antsy and wanted to go play. Right. I got playing time there, but it wasn't really in the cards for me to be the starter. And so I got a little taste of it again of playing. Said, shoot, I want to finish out my college career playing. So ended up going to Menlo College. And end up tearing my ACL there and finished my college career, unfortunately. But started working for Stanford football while I was finishing my undergrad. And they put me in charge of all their visiting coaches. I have relationships still from then to this day, from 2006 to this day, where I developed relationships because I knew I was going to be a coach. And then went from there back to San Diego and started coaching down here.
Wow. So in coaching, did you work in different aspects like recruiting too? Is that some of your job, or academics, or what does an assistant coach look like when you start to work up the ladder?
I've had every job except for being a head coach and a janitor.
Oh, wow. So
pretty much.
So was recruiting a hard job?
It's just like anything, right? It requires a ton of focus and a ton of planning and then execution, right? So it's hard because you're dealing with humans. You're dealing with people that not everybody is going to make a decision based off of the same tenets in each household, right? Some people are going to be really, really dependent on their mother or their dad or their uncle or what have you, right? And so you have to go and read the room as a recruiter, and you have to develop organic relationships, and you have to understand who you're going and recruiting, because there's a lot of pride on that other end. So I could talk recruiting for an hour.
Let me touch on one part of this recruiting though. So for athletes listening or parents who are listening to this episode, what's some advice you'd give an athlete who wants to get recruited, things that they may overlook that they should be focused on?
Always pretend like somebody who's going to offer you a scholarship is watching how you work.
Okay.
All the time. Yeah. So if your work habits are different, when you think somebody that you deem as important is watching, then you're not going to cut it.
So it's that work ethic all the time.
The work ethic, right? It's the love of the game. It's the preparation. It's how you deal with people outside of the facility. It's how you deal with people in the classroom. It's how you represent yourself out in the community. It's how you get people together to throw extra. It's how you get people together to bond as a group. To me, the people that just naturally are willing to work, they're the ones that are going to go get those opportunities, right? So that would be my number one piece of advice. My next piece of advice would be understand and benchmark where your realistic landing spot's going to be. We're not all going to go get a scholarship to Alabama or Ohio State. That's just not in the cards for everybody. So you ought to benchmark a roster and look at what's it going to take for me to go play there. I don't think I could play there. Let me be realistic. Let me go find the right fit for me. There's a lot of opportunities across this country to play. Find the right fit, and then go get your list of 20 schools that you're in love with and learn about those schools. And be very specific in regards to when you communicate with the coaches. Coaches don't want a boilerplate email from you. They want a real person. They want somebody that they're gonna trust and develop a relationship with, because coaches have families. They have their dreams and aspirations. And if you are going to help them feed their family and help them go towards their goals, they're going to want to bring you. So be somebody who's going to be likable by those people.
Yeah, I think your point about realistic expectations is important too, because a lot of people, everybody thinks they're D1. I'm D1. But a lot of times those D1 athletes, aren't they already identified well early on, and they're already in that recruiting pipeline, where there's a lot of D2, NAIA, D3 school opportunities that people miss out on if they're not.
Think of it as, like the big fish. The big fish are going to get their first crack at things, right? And they're going to go and look at the landscape and look at what's available, and they're years ahead of the smaller programs. Right. So one of the big schools in the ACC. I was on the phone with somebody on their personnel department a couple months ago, and we were just talking about, a kid here from San Diego. I sent him film on. He's like, "Hey, Doug, in all honesty, these offers are happening when that kid's like ending 8th grade and when he's in 9th grade. He's getting offered opportunities at our school then, right? By going to showcases, going to camps, going to places where our coaches are, or people that we trust are going to give them a ranking, right? So that's really an important to understand. And another little sidebar thing, if you're not getting an offer from your local backyard Division I school, what makes you think you're going to get an offer from a big school on the other side of the country?
Good point. Yeah.
Right? Like you need to take care of business at home. You need to go to the camps at home. You need to get seen by the college coaches at your home school. For us, San Diego State. You need to have an offer from them if you're going to really expect to get an offer from Utah, get an offer from, a bigger school beyond them. You better get offered here first, right? And if you're not, then that's fine. Then there are plenty of other opportunities where you can go advance your life and continue to play ball and get a degree from a school.
Yeah, there's some really good points there. So tell me now, after how you you left the coaching world on that, how did you start Brady Performance? What got you inspired to go out in that entrepreneurial drive and build what you're building?
So I got out of college football in 2015.
Okay.
Moved back home to San Diego. Thought I needed to get a big boy job and be like a real human, right? Where I was packing my car and moving to a new job in Illinois or Colorado, Missouri, and just living that lifestyle of just nomad and just doing whatever it took to advance my career. So I came back here, started selling software, coached some high school football, and met my wife at the end of 2019. I wasn't coaching football that year, so I met her on a Friday night at the horse races in Del Mar, right? And it just so happened I wasn't coaching football that year. And she ended up convincing me or encouraging me to quit my software job and to start Brady Performance, start my training business. It was right before COVID, perfect timing, right? And so I started it January of 2020 is when I officially started Brady Performance. My first camp that we ran was at the end of that January, and we had 42 quarterbacks at that camp because I spent some time promoting it and reaching out, and so things were looking good, right? And I got secured some other sponsorships for events, and then COVID shut everything down March 13th.
Yeah, well, so many businesses got hit with that, and so you had to adapt. And so when you after COVID, did you start to come back? Then you start to get those camps rolling again, and
I think after because COVID was just so like, okay, are we back? What are we able to do? There's the different tiers. I was really just trying to figure out, what did I need to do at the moment to be able to make this a viable business, right? So it wasn't as planned out as I had it planned out, doing my go-to-market strategy and my whole business plan, at the end of 2019, leading up to 2020. So it's been all over the place, to be completely honest with you, trying to work on like cleaning it all up and making it something I can be proud of.
But I have to tell you though, what I saw on the camps that you've done and observed, you had the field work out there, and then you had classroom time. And I think one thing that I noticed about the way you work with the athletes is it's not just one dimensional, it's about the whole athlete. And tell me a little bit about how that works. And I know you have some things that I want to talk about. The IQ, there's a program you have for like training there, classroom IQ. Tell me about how your thing is beyond just the field.
So it goes back to me being a quarterback myself, being a college coach, being a college quarterback and college coach, and having to develop a QB room in an offense, right? Coordinate an offense. And understanding what the other side is doing is critical, right? You have to know what you're lining up against. You have to be able to see space where other people don't see space. So the value of the classroom is immeasurable for me. Got to be able to teach kids how to watch film, how to identify different defensive alignments, because that allows them to play faster and to play with more confidence.
You find it when if I'm sitting down watching football with you, we pop on the TV, you're going to be looking at it completely different way.
I'm going to be rewinding it. I'm going to be taking notes. I'm going to be screen grabbing it. I'm going to be finding teaching material that's going to make me a better coach. So going back to my camps, I think the classroom element is important. Giving them a manual, giving them something that they can go go back and reference when they're going through their season.
Yeah.
Right? Intangibles, like the leadership aspect, the how you look at a defensive front, blitz paths, coverage structures, and then the concepts to use to attack those.
Yeah, the things you're mentioning right there, I know my nephew was talking about that to me all the time. I hear him talking about it in the brain part of the game, the thinking part of the game, beyond just going out and doing the job. So it's really it's been immensely successful for him, and it's been powerful. So
absolutely, that's good. That's good to hear.
So I want to talk about this IQ flashcards and things you have that help out. Tell me a little bit about it and how it works, and go ahead and show me.
Yeah. So American Football IQ ended up partnering with one of my clients. Parents.
Okay.
So they found me. He's one of the quarterbacks for the top school in Arizona.
Okay.
Out there, and they found me when he was like a 7th grader, 8th grader, and so I started watching film with him back 5 years ago, and they saw how I interacted with him on film, and the dad had talked about wanting to create flashcards because he couldn't find any for his son to learn coverages and learn football terms, right? So I ended up drawing up all these flashcards with coverages on there with different terms that coaches use so that the football IQ can improve. Right?
Yeah, so you got the whole like how to read, cover to read, boom, gives you the information right here like that. That's really cool. So is that that's part of the thing you can use in the classroom then, really, is it's building that knowledge base beyond, just doing the field work.
Yeah, awesome. I think in any field you want to be able to have key terms that you use and be able to have, for lack of better terms, brevity codes where I say one thing and that means that encompasses like a whole concept, right?
Yeah, nice little package. You get little flashcards all in one thing. Keep them with you and work on it. That's awesome.
Play fast, and our whole mantra is play faster. That's the goal. You spend the time learning, spend the time thinking about it, get on the board or watching film or going through the flashcards. But when you're out on the field, the work's done.
Yeah.
You got to go execute. Go play fast. You're not thinking.
That's cool. And I know you have something else. I love technology. I mean, that's really a passion of mine. And you also incorporate, I know, some VR into this, some technology. And we got this right here, this VR headset. And tell me about how this works, because I've always thought about, wow, how could you do that for basketball? Envision in a gym, and then lo and behold, you got a whole thing about football doing this. Tell me how the whole thing came about.
So I was at the American Football Coaches Association convention, the AFCA convention, and I went and walked the booths because I was in tech sales, right? In software sales before I started Brady Performance, and I came upon a booth. Virtual reality. It was Reps VR.
Okay.
And put the headset on, and I knew one of the guys there, the co-founder, coached at Stanford, and then the founder was a Green Beret and Army Ranger. He used to train our warriors in VR headsets. Okay. Right. And so I ended up getting a PhD from Stanford, performance psychology, and during that time he implemented the VR for the football team there.
Okay.
And then that coach ended up leaving and going to Rice. And so Dr. Dutch France, the guy who started this company, ended up doing all the validity testing at Rice. So essentially what it is you capture an immersive experience. You capture practice footage from a 360 camera.
Okay.
Right. And it's going to get the entire environment. And then when you edit it and stitch the footage together, you put it into the headset, and then you make it live into the VR environment.
Okay.
Right? The coach on the back end is going to put up text box quizzes. So, for instance, like quarterback, when he goes to the line of scrimmage, coaches have checklists. How many safeties are there? What's the boundary safeties alignment? What's the field safeties alignment? Depending on what you teach, you could put that text box quiz in there. Allow the quarterback to verbalize the answer.
So you're presenting that view of what they're seeing then.
The immersive experience, right, from the 360 footage. Because it's not CGI, it's not computer generated imagery.
Right.
It's not fake. The brain views it as real. There's a thing called functional equivalency. Anytime you teach something, you're trying to make it equivalent to a real life situation, right?
Okay.
So the brain thinks that it's real within 70 to 80% of functional equivalency, which you can't get that from other modes.
So is that why the military was using it too then, right?
Yeah. So so the text box quizzes, and then the real juice behind it is the brevity codes.
Okay.
So as your quarterback is taking the drop in the system, he's got to verbalize where his read is, right? And he's got to verbalize the route and whether he's going to throw it. If he's not going to throw, he still says the route. Boom, then he goes to the next route. He's got to verbalize that route within the time frame of his drop and when it would happen on the field. If he's going to throw it, he has the word rip behind it.
Okay.
So that's the real science behind it. The language, the looking at it, the spatial awareness of knowing exactly what to look at and when to throw the ball. You say when you're going to throw it.
Okay.
That's really what's going to create that micro pattern recognition and allow these quarterbacks to get extra reps without getting hit.
So you're basically, so what I'm taking away is this: you can get so many of these mental reps built in that it's almost, obviously because it's virtual reality, but it looks real. You're just training that brain over and over.
100%.
So
within the time frame that needs to happen in real competition.
I know
because that's the difference, right? Like you could tell me till you're blue in the face that you understand what I'm talking about,
right?
But that doesn't lie. That's not going to lie.
Didn't you tell me? I had a conversation a while back, and you said something to the effect that there's some people that have trained with it that use this in just off season that actually help make them better. And they just weren't able to go practice with the team, but they were doing the work.
So Friendship High School in Texas.
Okay.
They play in the top level of high school football there. Football is real important to people out in Texas, right? So their last 2 seasons, I'm not counting this year, 2025, 2024 and 2023, they broke in a brand new quarterback. And each time they broke in a brand new quarterback in those years, those quarterbacks had played baseball during the spring.
Okay.
They didn't participate in spring ball. But the coaches captured all the footage from the spring drills, and then they put all the markups and all the brevity codes in the back end. So the kids would be on the road or they'd be at home, and they would have headsets, and they would get the reps as if they were at practice. Yeah. They would get the reps, and they would carry over as if they were getting the physical reps there while they were playing baseball.
Yeah.
And they ended up they led their sections in passing those 2 years. And their reps client. And so I think that's a pretty powerful, there's obviously other components to that.
So you incorporate this into your training for the athletes that you coach then? So they got that,
the
they got
13U team I'm coaching right now, we use this. Wow. I use it with the UFL's passing leader, Luis Perez. We use VR for some of our training.
Wow.
There's I've used it with Julian Sayin, the starting quarterback at Ohio State. He's used it
VR. Before?
Yep. I've got a ton of content from Julian in this headset in my personal library.
Wow. That's impressive. The way the technology is advancing, there's so much more out there. I mean, I was wondering, those the thing they wear on the little
wristbands.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll ever try to make that digitized. You ever hear anything about that?
Yeah, I mean that's here.
It's already happening?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. This is going to be so tech oriented. Wow.
There's a business an offshoot off of that, there's a business called Modern Football that gives live feedback based off of the AI model, right? So you integrate all of your film into Modern Football, you tag it up, and then during a game, you could start entering data from what's happening.
Yeah.
And the system gives you best a checklist of different things to think about.
You're like ChatGPT. Hey, I need a quick answer.
Like, hey, what play should we run here on 3rd and 8?
That's pretty cool.
You take a timeout, you plug in the system. It's like, this is the best probable play right here based off of what's been happening in real time.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Wow, man, it's really interesting, Coach, is what's going on. So an athlete that's working with you would have access to all these different things. Are you able to coach people remotely too?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mentioned Jaden earlier in Arizona. We do remote film sessions. But yeah, I mean, you could FaceTime people and give them mechanics tips. One thing we didn't mention is I have a partnership with the Padres Biomechanics Lab.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So they've actually come out and brought their staff, and it's tied through Point Loma Nazarene. So it's the graduate students and faculty that are a part of that have come out to my camps and have done motion analysis on my quarterbacks.
Okay.
And the whole goal with that is to be able to track their kinematic sequencing, right? Like how the body moves through the different phases of the throw. So, that was a big part of one of my camps recently.
Yeah, that technology stuff is it's so interesting how it's advancing. Now, as we get ready to kind of wrap it up, Coach, outside of football, you're coaching people on the sport, but also for life. What are some things that I know you did sales, you did things like that. What are some of the things you took away with that quarterback mindset, an athlete mindset that carries over in the business world that you found was important that really makes a difference in your life?
We could talk for a long time about this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very passionate about this part, right? Like when I was thinking about starting Brady Performance and starting a quarterback training business, I had to think about what's my why.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I wanted to do was help athletes leverage the lessons they learn in football for the rest of their life.
Yep.
Like that's critical. That's how I've used the sport. Going in from transitioning into being a college coach to being a salesman, mm-hmm. and having to have a quota over my head and run a sales cycle, right. and go execute. It was competitive.
Yeah, business is competitive.
It's competitive, right? It's dog eat dog world. There's people that they want to take your lunch, right?
I think as athletes, don't you feel like you have an advantage, don't you, within the hard work that's put in?
Yeah, I think like the failure part, like being willing to handle to deal with failure and get back up. Mm-hmm. The part of like you win a game, that doesn't mean you're done.
Right.
You still need to go to practice the next day. You got to watch the film, and you need to show up with great energy. And I think what people can do in sales and in the business world is, man, we got a big win. Let's take like 10 days off. Let's not continue to build our pipeline up. Let's not continue to cultivate the relationships or enter all the data in our CRM. Let's go ahead and get lazy and complacent. What happens to you as a quarterback if that happens? You end up throwing 5 picks the next game, right?
Exactly.
And so I feel like for me, and not that I was perfect at all that, right? It's not like I applied every lesson every single time, but it's just a reminder for me that the sport teaches you so much. It'll humble you.
Yeah, sports does that. I mean, I look back, even my dad was a varsity basketball coach, and even some of his players who are well older than me, a lot older than me, they called me up and they've said, gosh, your dad really helped change my life. And it was about the things that we're talking about, that foundational work ethic and all that really carries over, So, well, hey, it's great having you on, and it's great talking about all this. If an athlete or parents want to have their son or daughter work with you, because I know flag football is becoming big too, how could they get a hold of you, and what's the best way to get in touch with your business?
So bradyperformance.com. Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way. I'm on all the social media platforms, Instagram at Brady Performance Football. Mm-hmm. You can go to the link in my bio there and see all the offerings. And then you could also be able to click on any of my social medias. So Doug at bradyperformance.com. That's the email. I'd love to hear from anybody, in regards to training, mobile, virtual training, or physical training here in San Diego.
You got a whole bunch of stuff. I can tell you a whole array of stuff. So definitely check them out. This has been a fun time, and thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.